All right, thank you. Let's hear from Professor Noah Midamba, because we have also a kink and a wrinkle, of course, with this particular process that moving on, come December the 12th, again, we're going to be maybe back on the same spot with protestation and people hurling and pelting stones, and police also lobbing tear gas because, yes, somebody who is a leader of NASA wants to be sworn in, that is Right Honorable Raila Odinga, wants to be sworn in as the president of Kenya. First of all, what sort of posturing are we giving to the public here? And right now, as we know, yes, we are calling for unity, and the President Uhuru Kenyatta says he'll try and proffer his hand of negotiation and dialogue with Raila Odinga. Do you think this is going to work out in light of his pronouncement yesterday?
Before I get over there, let me touch on one subject that Oliver Kisaka brought out, and that is the issue of the Constitution. You know, there's been quite a number of people who are trying to amend this new Constitution in order to fit their way and how they want to approach it. I would like to remind these people that since 1789, there have been 11,000 attempts to amend the U.S. Constitution, and only 27% has succeeded. Wow. And so the issue is, let's not mutilate this very powerful instrument that Kenyans work very hard to establish. Let us be very careful in how we go around amending it, and let it be legitimate, let it be for the common interest of the Kenyan people. Because this is the only thing, the only, excuse me, powerful instrument that will save us all.
Yes.
From either interfering with the constitutional way or on how our police and everybody else behave. Now let me turn to Honorable Odinga and what I had yesterday. What I know is 2 weeks ago I addressed students from the 7 countries of East Africa at the Nelson Mandela Center in Arusha, and I talk about the issue of integrity. And I gave them the example of Sir Thomas More and King Henry VIII reading from the Shakespeare, and how Sir Thomas More went through trial and tribulation, and in the end, he never succumbed to any of the attempt that King Henry VIII wanted. Now, I'm expecting that Honorable Raila Odinga is a man of integrity, a man with a deep interest in this country, a man who has suffered a great deal for the interest of the common people. And I'm expecting him to do the right thing through constitutional means. What I understand in previous time is that he was one of those people who was steering the idea of working within the Constitution. Now, what I heard yesterday, my expectation is that it may be a frustration of continuous killing and police brutality that happened, and that is expression was indeed a frustration rather than what is expecting to come. Now, so between now and whatever going to happen in the future, we have always held that President Uhuru and Honorable Raila Odinga need to talk. They need to have meaningful discussion between the two of them in approaching the future. I know there will be a number of attempts to say, no, now we have gone beyond that, let's just carry on. We cannot sweep the issues under the rug. We need to talk about them. We need to let the leaders lead by paving the ways, by symbolically demonstrate to the rest of Kenyans that we are together on this. We can agree to disagree, but we are together on substantive issues that are affecting the country. And that's what I expect to be the outcome.
All right. And looking at the Constitution, because we raised the issue of Constitution and in light of his pronouncement as well, Professor Noah Midamba, do you think there is nowhere in the Constitution that really accommodates the pronouncement of Raila Odinga? So what sort of a scenario is he trying to create when he is making this pronouncement that he is going to be inaugurated as a president of Kenya through the People's Assembly? Because that is not really captured in the Constitution.
Debarl, I can't speak for him, or I cannot speak for anybody else. But my expectation in terms of what I said earlier is that he is going to speak and going to act within the Constitution. That is my expectation. And I think that having been involved with Kisaka and all the rest of the people in constructing this Constitution, you cannot turn around and go out of it. If you are a honorable member and a man of leadership. So I don't expect that to happen. I may be naive by what I'm saying. But, you know, there are extremists on both sides.
Yes.
Who want shortcut and who are seeing only here. They cannot see 2 miles away from there. And they're only seeing their pocket. They don't see anything else. Those folks are going to be out there talking. But I'm expecting much more from Honorable Raila Odinga and therefore I don't want to say anything else.
All right. No, since he's been a bastion and a stalwart of making making sure that we have a democratic realization in this country. With this particular pronouncement, are we seeing, yes, a degeneration of, the posture that he's given us as Kenyans, that he's a stalwart, a bastion, an avid believer in democracy? If he's not following also, what are the tenets of the Constitution itself, Dr. Mumo Nzau?
Yeah, I just feel like he was a little irritated yesterday and so on, and I think, I don't think he meant it seriously, because even the other day, some people were saying, we'll swear you, and he said no. He said no. So because those are not good things. Even before I forget, Debarl, page 6 of Nation newspapers, very nice photos. We forgot about the first ladies and the first lady and the.
Let's just press for
our mothers.
Specifics right now. Yes.
Yeah. But the point I was making is that I'm feeling a little tense around this issue. It's not good because it doesn't sound right.
All right.
But the thing is that if we want to build a country, we must be guided by tolerance, and we must be guided by inclusivity. We must be guided by, because I can turn at Professor Midamba and tell him, Prof, I don't like you. You're a jingoist. You talk like American and all this, and I don't like you. But you see, look, I just told Professor that, but I didn't throw a stone at him, and there is not a dead child here. That is important. And let all leaders think, if I go out there and people throw stones and fight and there are dead people at the end of it and all this, what does it mean? I don't want that kind of thing. I don't want to hear people calling Raila Odinga names, taunting him or telling him nasty things. I don't want to hear any of that anymore. But at the same time, if a leader is out there, because I don't think a parent, a police officer can say, shoot that child, a commander. This is irresponsibility on individuals. Why did you do that? The commander asked, the boy was called, the guy who shot at President Lincoln. It was a sad day. And then they chased him across the Potomac. And this guy he was called John Wilkes Booth. And one of the soldiers just shot him. And the commander said, don't shoot him, we want him alive. And the man said, God told me. So people said, okay, fine, but how can you do that? So the point I'm making, Debarl, is that we cannot ask somebody not to go out and express himself. We cannot do that because it's against the Constitution.
Thank you.
But at the same time, you cannot act over and above the bounds of the law, the institutions, and the Constitution. And that kind of toleration is important for the country. Look, there was an election today. There will be an election in 2022. let's talk about that in 2020.
Dr. Mustafa.
Yeah, Debarl, Raila Odinga has played a major role in this country. He's been honorable. He has helped to expand the democratic space in this country, and he suffered a great deal for that. Kenyans should respect the person of Raila Odinga. With the issue of swearing in or not swearing in, normally in that conflict curve, you know, people would say, escalate the conflict, and then when you're going to dialogue or negotiate, then you calm down. I do not expect that Raila Odinga is going to accept to be sworn in. The challenge with the rhetoric that is now there is that he is going to raise the expectations of his supporters so much so that they actually believe that Raila Odinga is going to be sworn in on 12th, and then it doesn't happen, and then it kind of it's like a balloon that has been deflated. There are better ways to deal with the current issues that we are facing in this country. Dr. Kisaka talked about the issue of inclusion. Raila Odinga talked about third liberation of this country. And the third liberation that perhaps we should be talking about is liberating this country from looters, from people who are plundering this country, including those that are holding state office and have been re-elected. We need to be talking about the third liberation of this country to address issues of police brutality, the extrajudicial killings, corruption, detribalization of this country. Those are the issues that we should be talking about, not positions. And it would be a sad day for Kenya if you're going to start mutilating this constitution, as Professor Midamba is saying, because we must create positions to suit certain political entrepreneurs or certain tribes merely to create a facade of inclusion. Inclusion means that all Kenyans, 47 million Kenyans, are facilitated to be productive in this country. And that is the way we are going to move into where other countries have, for example, the countries in Southeast Asia.
All right. Maybe I should also pose maybe two questions. First of all, Dr. Kisaka, is this a political strategy and a scheme that we are also experiencing from Raila Odinga? That, yes, I don't want to lose my fender. People are expecting every other time the other shoe to fall. So he goes on with promises, but following through the promises has been diametrically different with Raila Odinga. So he wants to keep on the expectation there and managing the expectations of the followers. So you'll make this pronouncement, then when we expect you to follow through, you really make sure that, we see the light of day with that particular promise. So is this just another political posturing that will give a date, and this is when we'll make a pronouncement, this will be the venue, and then come that particular material day, we don't see anything? So empty rhetoric.
At the very best, one would expect it to be empty rhetoric, but there's a better way. I think in this political equation, a leader arises, creates a vision which supporters buy into. At some point, he ceases to be the leader and is being led by the people. And to me, that's what's happening here. Because a person who has actually recognized what is right and declared that it would destroy my past efforts in Kenya, spoil my image in the international community, for me to do something unconstitutional. Somebody who recognizes that, and then 1 week later comes around and says, I'm going to do exactly what I was saying, will destroy my image, is actually responding to pressure coming from the bottom. Now that crowd is begging for leadership. And the leadership they're begging for is a way out. What was contained in this concept of Canaan? Is it the milk and honey that is promised in the scriptures? Can that milk and honey be received another way? I think that's the leadership that is required now. Because let me just pause and say, let's think about it for a moment. Supposing you are to be sworn in on 12th, and you even succeed and go all the way to the presidency, and the other camp that is in support of Uhuru Kenyatta does exactly the same thing that you are doing, will you govern? Where are you going to govern if you use unconstitutional means? Can you turn around and tell the people, now that I have used unconstitutional means to get here, you now follow constitutional means for me to remain here? It would be such a difficult problem that he himself would not even know what to do with it. So my advice would be that, and I don't know, I seem to be saying this lightly, but I actually mean it. The NASA camp has the best technical minds in this country, the best medical minds, the best, it has the best, the NASA camp. If this camp was to organize itself properly, they would not need the presidency. That's right. They would prosper everywhere. You know, they have the best minds in agriculture, they have the best minds in medicine, they have the best minds in mathematics, they have the best minds. Not only that, how young people who have only reached class 8 can be able to engineer people's vehicles. The best mechanics in this country are found in certain quarters in all the cities. The technical understanding is amazing. Who is going to create a capacity for these minds to actually harness and benefit? Because what we are seeing now is that they are on the streets and they are getting hurt. They are on the streets and it's like you are facing this huge wall that you really cannot get through. So I'm inviting for very serious reflection. I don't want to make light of the desire to be president, because anybody who goes into a contest to win. In this case, there is a constitution, and that constitution has given certain decrees. In the first appeal to the Supreme Court, in my own evaluation, I could be wrong, Debarl, the Uhuru lawyers assumed it was a very easy case. And in my view, they came in unprepared. And they lost the case. In the second one, I think it's the lawyers of the other camp who are unprepared. They still have the law courts. If there are grievances today, go back to the law courts. Let the law courts be the institution that we are upholding to adjudicate all matters national, so that our country does not have a situation where you are operating in anarchy. You can't be president unless you can give instructions constitutionally that are obeyed. So even if you are sworn in, you have been sworn in to where? I think they are difficult questions to ask. I don't make light of the aspirations of the people.
Yes.
Yeah, but I think we should think very, very seriously and soberly on these issues.
All right, and information coming to hand also informs us that yes, the State House or the government stands at the ready to arrest Raila Odinga if he goes full steam ahead and is sworn in as the president, because that is a treasonable offense. So this time they're not really going to be gun shy of arresting Raila Odinga. And so in light of looking at that, because we have to talk these issues, are we also looking at the hallmarks of a tinderbox that is waiting to explode? Right? Should he be arrested again? Yes, by the government. Then what? Are we going to see a country that is going to tear apart? Very briefly.
You know, Debarl, that is easy said than done. That is no solution. A person like Honorable Odinga has been in jail many times. Okay, probably served in recent years, longer in jail for the course of what we're doing now. So arresting him, he has said several times, why kill these young people? Why don't you shoot me if you are the one going after me? So don't waste energy and focus on that's what you want to do. Focus on a dialogue, a meaningful, like Mr. Kisaka was saying, so that we can move ahead. There are millions of young people who are watching and up, for this man, for his leadership. And we need a message of inclusivity. the type that the president was talking about yesterday, so that we can all come together under this big tent called Kenya. That's what we need. These young people need opportunity. And the aspiration is going to be guided by a very serious, sober statement and actualizing the kind of plan and the kind of talk we are talking about. But let's not threat, no threat.
All right. All right, we also just remind you of the question of the day that we're asking you about the expectation and how do we manage the expectations of Kenyans. What do you expect from the presidency of Uhuru Kenyatta on his second term? But I can see a lot of reactions on Twitter as well. Rush of tweets that we can see on our Twitter handle. We have John Githanga saying that he says this time around Uhuru is not beholden to his cronies who were taking advantage of his magnanimity. He will be cross with them. We have us also Nina saying exactly what he said. Be president of all. Build bridges to unite and bring prosperity to all Kenyans. 100% universal healthcare for all. Affordable housing, increased jobs, etc. We have Nyoremo saying blah, 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 blah. How far have you gone with Baby Pendo and many that were not documented, right? Kelele. Then we have Patrick Obanda saying enough is enough. You accept and move on with people who don't care about the lives of your supporters. Even the young are not spared. We have also, this is D, saying every election Kenyan cycle, it's a must. People have to die. It's the usual government of Kenya mantra, accept and move on. To what? More injustices after 5 years? It has to stop. This is what D is saying. Also, we have Winfrey saying the new constitution is not the problem. The problem is the vifaranga via computer we call leaders. Also, Tom Duncan Tidi, Mustafa, 3 million Kikuyus and a few Kalenjins are not what you call Kenyans. Mbona hamukome marongo kwenye ndimi zenyu? This is what he's asking. John Githanga again is saying it's a relief, but perhaps a temporary relief. We want to believe that now all is well, but cosmetic solutions are never permanent. Eric Mongare, so do we blame the policeman as an individual or the whole police unit? If Raila is to blame for the whole election's outcome, does it mean all politicians are bad? A probing question there from Eric Mongare as well. And Winfred Owen said Kenya is not working, Mustafa. Looters are working to loot public resources, then come back in 22 to bribe us with it. These are some of your comments on Twitter. Of course, many of them I cannot read all of them because we're really strapped for time. But yes, looking at where we are right now, a lot of developments that will happen also from here henceforth. How do we manage the expectation? Because now we have two different, as it is right now, very polarized, polar extremes.
Debarl, let me say this. We have a country to build. And we have to move on. And that is a fact. We have a constitution and
yes,
we must remain in an organized and regulated society. And therefore, I'm sensing something else going on here. Sometimes, you don't have, there's what we call rub it in. You're rubbing it in. Such that, you know, if you see, it's like you want, something has happened, but you capitalize on it, not because of that thing, but because of other things. And what I'm trying to say here is that let's be sincere. Where there is a mistake, let's zero in on that mistake as it is and make sure that it is corrected and we move on. Because I want to agree with one of those viewers who said, you know, it doesn't mean all the leaders are bad. We have very good leaders on both sides. People who, like what Dr. Kisaka was saying, gifted people who have been elected, like that boy from Meru. People just come and say, you are one of us. You have a bicycle. We send you to parliament. And that is given. So people have accepted to be part of this process. They are part of this constitutional order. We cannot go back and cheat the people behind that, you know, let's go to the streets and do this. Yet at the end of the month, you're getting salary. And this is somebody's child who is getting hurt. This thing of, and then civility is important. Police should never shoot a child. And also no one should throw, do you know there are a lot of silent people in this country whose cars have been stoned? things have been destroyed. There was even IEBC officials who were killed.
Thank you.
So these things are very important. Let us not try to hide behind something and then push an agenda out of it. Let's be tolerant,
All right,
and honest.
Dr. Mustafa, very briefly, how do we manage the expectations of a polarized country?
By just realization, Debarl, that democracy is always work in progress. We must be inclusive in the way we are managing our political affairs. We have to work within the constitution in order to move forward. The best minds that are in NASA that Dr. Kisaka is talking about can work to capture or to win the presidency in 2022.
Mm-hmm. Will dialogue be a panacea and a conduit maybe to bring a realization of unity in the country, even as we are experiencing all these kinks and wrinkles as far as democracy is concerned in this country?
Debarl, dialogue is a peacemaking effort. Peacemaking effort is not the same as peace-loving. Peacemaking means the situations are dire, they are difficult, but you take steps to reach out. When you have very significant leaders like the Honorable Raila Odinga, the Honorable Kalonzo Musyoka, the Honorable Musalia Mudavadi, when you have this kind of key leaders,
yes,
and you don't talk with them, you are missing out. Mm-hmm. Definitely. You must make every effort. It will not be easy, but make those efforts. Right now, the young people need hope. And for me, I want to be on TV this morning and tell Kenyans there is a lot of hope. I actually want to just quote the Honorable Raila Odinga, who said there are many ways of making it. I want to quote the statement halfway. There are many ways of making it. I think those other ways should be explored for now. And as Mustafa has said, let there be a concrete, honest evaluation.
Yes.
I think one of the sad things that happens when you are a top leader is that the people who work under you don't tell you the truth. Right. They limit you from knowing exactly what's happening. If I was in the NASA camp today, what I would do is to go back and analyze the entire election, yes, from nomination to the end. And I will find very significant things that kept stealing the wind out of the big movement that was arising. I think if those are corrected, there's hope in 2022. But for now, let's make peace. I think we are equal to the task.
Let's make peace. We need to wind up on this direct.